Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Oberon Capital live event hosted by Six. I'm pleased to introduce our speaker for today, Tamara Brown, partner and head of capital markets at Oberon Capital. So, kick things off here, Tamara. It's your first time on a Six event. How about you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background?
Thanks, Maxim. And actually not my first time on a Six event. I was lucky enough to present a couple of times when I was a CEO in the mining space. And so I know it's a great platform, and I thank you for taking the time today to get the word out about flow through and Oberon. So a little bit about me. I'm an engineer. I've been in the mining industry for 30 years now. And as you can tell from the accent, Australian originally. I've probably spent half my life in Australia, half my life in Canada. I started out in the field and then moved on to investment banking. And with that move here in Canada, it brought me into kinds of roles like corporate development, M&A, investor relations. I've worked with quite a number of the Canadian producers and actually Australian as well. So I sit very comfortably on the ASX and the TSX between JORC and 43101. And most recently, I have started to work on boards and with Oberon in charity flow through.
Awesome. So yeah, you've been involved with quite a lot of aspects of mining, from the C-suite to, as you said, corp dev and IR. Can you tell us a little bit about why you wanted to get involved with Oberon as opposed to continuing down, the classic mining company CEO path?
Yeah, sure. It's a great question. Well, there's a lot of ways to answer that. I won't go down the rabbit hole of talking about glass ceilings, but I will say that the Oberon opportunity came about because I actually used Oberon when I was on the issuer side to raise flow through at a premium, loved the product, and then later went on to use them as a subscriber in order to donate to my children's schools, so to my charity of choice. And so I got to know the team there. And I think the reason that I was most excited about this pivot in my career is that I've done a lot of technical, financial, and mining related work, but the opportunity to get involved with philanthropy and helping charities basically receive more, helping philanthropists to give more, was really exciting departure from what I usually do. And as we all know, change is as good as a holiday. So I'm loving it. And I still get to stay involved with the mining sector because over 30 years, as you can appreciate, I've got to know a lot of the CEOs that are looking to raise money. As an investment banker, I got to understand, what it requires in order to structure your balance sheet and, when you need funding and whether they're hard dollars or flow through dollars. And so it was a very good fit for me at this phase in my career.
Yeah, and you can't underestimate, the value of knowing your clients, and really being one of those clients is the best way to do it.
Yeah.
So for the folks here that are joining us that perhaps don't know about Oberon, can you just tell us a little bit about what Oberon does and what your focus is?
Sure. So I'll start with probably talking about flow through, and that's our product. So Canadian flow through share program was established in the 70s. It was designed to promote exploration investment in Canada. And I think it's an excellent product. It's actually the envy of many of the other jurisdictions around the world, like Australia or South Africa or the US. So it allows issuers to flow through or renounce the tax deductions associated with certain exploration expenditures conducted on a Canadian resource body. And it allows those deductions to be transferred to the first subscribers of the common shares. And that is incentivizing those individual investors to finance these early stage mineral exploration and junior mining companies. Obviously, capital is one of the most important parts of the mining sector. And so this tool has been that piece that makes the Canadian exploration sector different. Today, I would say that about more than 2/3 of every dollar raised for exploration in Canada is raised through flow through. So as you can appreciate, it's a very important product. About 15 years ago, so it's about 35 years ago, flow through came in. And about 15 years ago, the structured or charity flow through product was born, with philanthropists who were seeking to capture the tax benefits of the flow through shares, but without the associated liquidity or market risk associated. And so charity flow through, it's uniquely Canadian, it's structured, and eliminates this market and liquidity risk by combining two long-established government tax regimes, which are flow-through shares and charitable donation tax credits. So in simple terms, what happens is that the donors buy the flow-through shares at a premium to the market price in order to access their tax benefits. Then the donors gift those shares to their Canadian charities of choice, and they receive a donation tax receipt. And then the charities immediately sell those shares to an institutional or strategic investor at a prearranged price, and that's often at a discount to market. So this results in a win-win-win for everybody involved. Significantly reduces the after-tax cost of giving for the Canadian philanthropist, leading to increased and accelerated gifting. It increases access to capital and reduces dilution for the resource issuer exploring or developing in Canada, as the flow-through shares are actually issued at a premium to market because of their tax attributes. And it increases what Canadian charities receive, and obviously further benefiting the people and the causes that they support. It also provides a global network of institutional and strategic investors access to the common shares of the resource companies that are exploring in Canada. They usually get those shares at a discount to market, so it's attractive for them. And, it has added benefits as well, things like expands employment opportunities in remote regions of Canada. It creates jobs where there weren't jobs in remote communities. And so this helps not only the First Nations, it helps all remote communities and creates opportunities where they didn't exist before.
Awesome. Very in-depth look there on flow-through. I wanted to also just find out a little bit about Oberon itself, and if you could just talk a little bit about that.
Sure. So, Oberon was founded about 15 years ago by my partner, David Leclerc. A fun fact is that he named the company after a class of submarines that he served on in the Royal Canadian Navy. A lot of people ask me about that. Where did the name come from? So he saw an opportunity to help Canadian philanthropists maximise their giving potential using this structured charity flow-through product. And now today, Oberon's one of the leading charity flow-through firms in Canada. Over the last 15 years, we've helped raise over $1.6 billion with over 400 individual charity flow-through transactions. We've got a suite of tax specialists who focus on our philanthropy clients, helping them to structure their gifting in order to maximise what they can provide to their chosen charities. We have capital market specialists who work with the issuers in order to structure their flow-through financing so that they can maximise the premiums that they receive, thereby reducing their dilution and making their expiration budgets go as far as possible. We raise companies anywhere from $1 million to $50 million. Many of our issuer clients have been clients with us for years. We've helped support their capital requirements all the way through from being a micro-cap stock all the way through into production. And we're really focused on being a partner, a supportive partner for the issuers, so that as they grow their business, they know they can come back to us, and hopefully together we can provide the capital and they can put the drill rigs in the ground, and hopefully that leads to success and then bigger budgets. And it flows on each year where, as I said, we do larger and larger programs for the same issuers each year.
Awesome. And now just moving on to the hot topic, which is kind of this week's Canadian federal budget. Can you just talk a little bit about how that'll affect issuers broadly, but also specifically when it comes to financings?
Thanks, Maxim. And unfortunately, in a word, negatively. It's affected our industry negatively. Before we get into the budget, it's probably important to note that over the last 35 years, I said this briefly, the flow-through market has become one of the most important tools for two critical Canadian sectors, obviously the not-for-profit sector and also the natural resource sector. Over 2/3 of all exploration capital is raised with flow-through, and the government has stated the importance of and their support of the critical minerals in order for our green economy in Canada to emerge. And we would expect that flow-through should be a big part of that plan. So back in 2022, the government recognised this by increasing the mineral exploration tax credit associated with critical minerals, which was a positive impact on the premiums available for the companies that were exploring for copper or lithium or any of the critical minerals. And so that was a positive move. But unfortunately, in 2023, the government then took away much of the benefit by increasing the alternative minimum tax rate from 15 to 20.5%. So this materially reduced the capital available for the exploration sector simply because the philanthropists, the large high net worth individuals, had much less that they have available to give now. And so now this week we've seen the federal budget announced, and the government has increased the capital gains inclusion rate for corporations and trusts and for individuals above $250,000 from 50% to 66 2/3%. So this is significantly going to reduce the amount of available capital for the junior exploration and development companies that we have. And it's going to create major headwinds for investment into Canadian industry in general, I would say. Unless the government increases the adjusted cost base of all flow-through shares from zero, where it sits now, to a higher level, we believe that the budget will be damaging to financing for mineral exploration in Canada at a time when new investment in critical minerals is most needed. So these changes also have a direct impact on the challenge of eliminating emissions from our energy and transportation grids, for example. In order to achieve this, we require more critical minerals, we require more investment in mineral exploration, and more support from the Canadian government to provide that missing fiscal environment needed to support this sector. So in a practical sense, for the issuers that are on the line, I would expect that after June 25, 2024, we see the budget, if it's enacted as presented with no changes, it's going to reduce the premiums that they have available to raise money at with charity flow through by between 10 and 33%, depending on the jurisdiction and the commodity that they're operating in. So that makes it very challenging. It reduces, again, on top of that AMT change, it significantly reduces the amount of capital available that's going to go into the sector. It was pleasing to see that the budget confirmed the extension of the METC, which is the Mineral Exploration Tax Credit, to the 31st of March 2025, but it would have been more helpful if they extended it by 5 years, as they did back in 2018. The budget also allowed individual taxpayers to claim 80% of the charitable donations instead of 50%, which was originally proposed last year. But unfortunately, it doesn't have a big impact for most of our clients. But we'll work very actively with the flow-through financing community, with the PDAC, the MAC, and other associations in order to lobby the government to consider increasing the ACB or just reducing the impacts of this proposed budget. We are encouraging all groups who are considering a flow-through financing to have it completed before that June 25 deadline in order to take advantage of the existing higher premiums. And so I'm encouraging everyone who's looking at doing a financing to just reach out and talk to us. We do have strong demand right now.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Question here for you from the audience. Is there a way to find the prearranged buyers? It is often not disclosed in the news releases.
Great question, and it is, I guess, the question has hit on the key to this product. This product is a win-win-win, but the key to it is that common share buyer, that back-end buyer, that institutional or strategic buyer. Oberon works actively both with issuers and with their brokers. So we have a network of bankers and brokers throughout Canada and actually internationally now, and that we help them work to obtain that back-end buying. So Oberon doesn't bring that. We bring the front-end premium, but we work with the brokers and the companies because in some situations it's a strategic investor and they won't have a broker associated with that kind of a transaction.
And just for companies that are watching right now, can you talk a little bit about your kind of connections with the brokers if they don't currently have brokers that they work with? Is that something, introductions you can make as well if they're doing the financing through you? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So our bread and butter is financings, flow-through financings, and so we work with all of the brokers all the time. There's always, I guess it's a spectrum, as with anything. The larger market cap companies will generally be dealing with the banks, and we understand the relationships associated there. So we work with most of the big 5 banks. And then there's a suite of what I would call mid-tier boutique or brokerage firms that are very active in flow through. So these guys have the clients that are the explorers and developers. So as you can appreciate, once you've gone into the producer stage, there is less use of flow through, but it's not eliminated. There still are producers that do flow through. It may not be material, so it may not need to be press released, and they'll put a footnote in a financial statement, which is great. It's great to see our Canadian producers also utilising this tool in order to reduce their cost of giving. But coming back to the brokers, yeah, we have a great suite of brokers, both here in Toronto and all across the country, and we would be happy to provide those introductions because we understand, because of the deals we're doing, we're seeing the flow of funds, we're seeing which brokers are working, maybe in what commodity or what jurisdiction, who's had success, etc. It's worth noting, Maxim, that the back-end buyer of this product can be anywhere in the world. So a lot of the transactions that we've seen over the last year have actually been ASX listed companies that have come in and own Canadian assets, but they have an Australian shareholder base. And the Australian Stock Exchange is quite a bit stronger than the TSX right now. So that's been why people have been asking me, why are all these ASX flow-through deals happening? And it's mainly because the ASX has buyers for the back-end share, which has allowed these companies to come in and get the premium for their drilling on their Canadian assets.
Yeah, perfect. And another question here from the audience, is there a preferred metal like gold, silver, lithium that you work with that you find it's just easier to do these things with, or is it the same regardless? It's
topic du jour. So, everyone will have seen in the market, you really only have to subscribe to a mining news outlet and you'll see yourself. There'll be trends. So in 2023, we saw a lot of lithium transactions happening because the lithium market was on fire. The lithium price was going up throughout the end of 2022 and early 23. And so there were a lot of lithium deals being done. And so for our subscribers, Maxim, they're actually agnostic to commodity. What they're looking for is that renounced deduction, that tax credit that allows them to expand their giving. And so they're agnostic to whether it's critical minerals or precious metals. Earlier this year, we saw a very good uranium market. So there was quite a number of uranium flow-through deals done. And I would expect, and I'm going to touch wood here for everyone on the phone that's in precious metals, but with the recent move in the gold price, although we haven't seen a lot of deals done, I would expect that we would hopefully see some good precious metals and gold transactions over the next little while.
And yeah, that's perfect. And can you just tell us in what scenarios would this not be applicable in, right? Like where does it not make sense for a company to do this?
There are rules, as with anything, and so you need to be a principal business corporation in Canada with an established presence. So you can't raise flow through in Canada if you are not taxable in Canada. So some of those Australian companies, we will have to help them through the structuring required for their corporate businesses in order to qualify as a flow through issuer. So they can be expending on both CEE, which is Canadian exploration expenditures, and CDE, which is Canadian development expenditures, so different categories. But once they've qualified as a principal business corporation and they have an established tax presence in Canada, then they have to make sure that they qualify for CEE or CDE expenditures. For example, if you are already producing, you may not qualify for CEE. And so there are rules that you have to go through, and obviously the lawyers are involved with that. We work with the counsel for the issuer in order to determine that. Some companies elect, if it's a borderline decision, they'll elect to go to the CRA for an advance ruling on do we qualify for CEE and CDE expenditures.
Perfect. And before we wrap up here, I wanted to just see if you can tell the folks here how people can reach you or how people can inquire about these various things with you.
Excellent. Well, I'm sure that my details are somewhere there on your site because I know you guys are very good at what you do. We have a website, but we are launching the new one hopefully later today. So you can contact myself. My two partners are David Leclerc and Norm Brownstein. Their information is also on the website. You can contact any one of us if you're interested in either raising flow through, or if you're interested in on the gifting side, in order to understand how you can increase the effectiveness and accelerate your gifting to your chosen charity.
Perfect. Thank you, Tamara. So that's all for the questions we have today. So thank you for taking us through the Q&A session. And thank you everyone who submitted questions. Today's recording will be available to watch very shortly on demand, so look out for that. And before we wrap up, just passing things back over to you, Tamara, so you can close us off.
Thanks, Maxim. Thank you so much for taking the time, and thanks to everyone on the line for listening and taking the time to learn about flow through and Oberon. It's a great product. As I said, it's a win-win-win for everyone. And so if you don't do it currently and you're interested in learning about it, please reach out. We currently have very strong demand from our philanthropy clients who are looking to do transactions in order to give you guys a premium on your dollars, and in order to get you out drilling as quickly as possible. So thanks for the time today, and I look forward to speaking with you.